Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Paloma Aguirre, Mayor of this great city of Imperial Beach, the most southwesterly city in the continental U.S. We're about 27,000 residents. We're a military town. We're a Navy town. We're a minority-majority community. We're classic Southern California, which is a community that is beach-oriented, safe, family-friendly community, rich in cultural and natural resources. We are also in a state of emergency, and I just want to be very clear about that. Imperial Beach is in a state of emergency, and I'm going to explain why. Next slide, please. As Lauren just mentioned, most of our revenue is from taxes, property taxes, transient occupancy tax, franchise tax, sales tax. We have been hit tremendously economically because of our beach closures these last, I want to say, 5 to 10 years especially. Next slide, please. We used to have big events. Ironman used to have their event here in Imperial Beach, which is a swim combined with bike ride, combined with running, portion of the event. We used to have surf competitions here in Imperial Beach. We no longer have those. Lots of folks have stopped coming to our community because of our beach closures and because of the reported odors. Next slide, please. Our junior lifeguard program has been affected. This is one of the last pictures in our junior guard program was able to function. Because of the beach closures, we've had to cancel it. And our junior guard program is a lifeline to our lifeguards. And it's so devastating for our families who, for an entire generation, would send their kids over the summer to be able to have fun, learn about ocean saving skills, learn about ocean stewardship, have fun with their friends. That's no longer the case. Next slide, please. Our city, our lifeguards, they do a tremendous job. The city of Imperial Beach has a unique set of circumstances like no other city. We are frequently called upon by Department of Homeland Security, Border Patrol. We went in and toured the border wall there. We have undocumented, sometimes people who try to swim across around the wall or try to come through the culverts. They're trapped in stormwater floods. And our guys and gals have to be called to go to the rescue, and they do it well, but they are also exposed to all of these pollutants that some of the doctors earlier explained. So that is a tremendous impact to their health, to their well-being, to their mental well-being, and to morale. Next slide, please. August 24th, we had our first ever boil water advisory here in Imperial Beach following Tropical Storm Hillary. A sample tested at the end of Seacoast Drive, which is this avenue right here at the very end. It tested positive for E. coli. Folks had to boil the water for 3 days. We did our best to try to distribute drinking water, pallets of water, but obviously that's not enough. Our businesses, not even during COVID, all of our businesses had to shut down. People who depend on tips, people who depend on their service industry, salaries. It was devastating for a lot of our local businesses. Next slide, please. Now, something that we've been seeing is a very significant increase is in the reports of odors. And you all who took the tour were out in the River Valley. You got to smell it firsthand. This is now every day. We used to have it on an occasional basis. Every evening when the marine layer comes down, or when it's kind of rainy, or depending on the surf, if it's high, we're getting these odors constantly, all the time. And now those odors are being reported not just in Imperial Beach, but beyond, in the communities of Nestor, San Isidro, South San Diego, Chula Vista, well beyond the limits of the city of Imperial Beach. Their pollution control district, who I believe is here and will give comment later, they just located a number of different sensors to measure hydrogen, sulfur, and sulfur dioxide, which are two gases that are emitted by sewage that can cause nausea, headaches, upper respiratory symptoms. And we've had members in our community that have bought these sensors because it was just overwhelming, and they put them in their homes. I'm showing some slides here from an article that was published by the San Diego Union Tribune, who interviewed a lot of these folks and obtained the data from these sensors. And they found that the sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide measurements well exceeded state standards. So this is not just anecdotal. This is actually having an effect on people's health and well-being. Next slide, please. I mean, needless to say, 680 consecutive days, the southern end of our beach, which includes from South End Seacoast Drive all the way to the border wall. Our main stretch of the beach here has been closed every single day this year. Silver Strand has been affected, which is up north. Coronado has been affected as well. Next slide, please. I really wanted to, show these pictures because this is an emerging and even growing concern. Here in Imperial Beach, we're a low-lying community. We are subject to nuisance flooding. We're subject to flooding in our streets when there's king tides combined with major storm events. This is a picture of last winter when we had this coastal flooding. This is Seacoast Drive. This is in front of people's homes. That is sewage water. Those are human feces on our street, right? And Scripps Institution of Oceanography has predicted that by 2030, we are not just going to see these coastal flooding events once or twice a year. We're going to see them in the matter of hundreds of days per year. All of this has an effect on our sewer, stormwater, and water conveyance infrastructure. We hear a lot about sea level rise in other cities. Other cities have to deal with sea level rise. They think, well, saltwater intrusion, their pipelines are getting corroded. Yeah, it's a nuisance, but it's not causing people to get sick. We are having the saltwater intrusion because of sea level rise, because of coastal flooding in our laterals, which are the water conveyance pipelines, that is causing people to get sick. Next slide, please. Recently, we met with a couple members of our community who reported personally having having contracted Shigella and E. coli infections following the boil water advisory. They are reporting that up to 50 residents within a 2-block radius of Seacoast Drive reported symptoms. I spoke with one member of our community who was hospitalized for 3 days, and when they came and tended to her, they had to wear hazmat suits. So these are the things that the city of Imperial Beach is having to deal with. Shigella, for those who don't know, is a bacteria that is spread through sewage contaminated water, and so is E. coli. These are conditions that are found in developing countries, yet we're finding them here in the city of Imperial Beach. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we are in a full state of emergency. The city of Imperial Beach has declared a state of emergency. The city of San Diego has also declared one. The County Board of Supervisors has declared a state of emergency. We are asking our state and federal representatives to help us. That's what we're asking them to do. Next slide, please. We have 3 major asks, and I just want to acknowledge we did receive a letter last night from Governor Newsom. I want to thank him for sending this letter and giving a clarification as why his decision will be to not issue a state of emergency as it relates to the Stafford Act. But what I would like to request at this point, on behalf of the people suffering, on behalf of the city of Imperial Beach, on behalf of the entire South San Diego region, is for him to help us and champion our call to President Biden. Because as many have mentioned already, and some will mention later in the public comment, the situation is so dire that we cannot afford to wait for a congressional appropriations process as we have for the last 17, 20 years. I can personally attest to that. I've been working on this issue for 17 years, shoulder to shoulder with a lot of people in this room. We're beyond that. We're beyond, conversations with our neighbors to the south. We are in a full and utter state of emergency. Our community is suffering. And what we need is from our president to suspend statute, so that he can make a directive, an executive order to Congress to allocate the necessary funding that we all know is between the 900 million to $1 billion to fully fund not just the fixing, the rehabilitation of the sewage treatment plant, but its expansion, diversion of the Tijuana River, and to facilitate other sources of funding to the International Boundary and Water Commission, which currently can only receive funding through the Department of State. So that is what we're asking for today. And that will conclude, I believe, my presentation. They want to put the next slide. Next slide. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here today, for willing to participate in this issue. Please help us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Commissioner Aguirre. The city of Imperial Beach is very lucky to have you as their mayor and leader on these issues. Okay,